Thank you. Yeah, the only thing I knew about Marilyn Monroe before watching this documentary was that she was a major sex icon of World War II times. I learned that she had a mother with mental illness and there was sexual abuse in her childhood. And then she married a man at age 16 who was a police officer to avoid going into the adoption system. But somehow, through all that, she found the inner strength and had the gift of being out on stage and lighting up the stage, a beautiful voice. And obviously everybody loved her and she quickly made it to Hollywood. Yet, as the documentary went on, I actually had a hard time watching this documentary because of some of the dark stuff that they talked about and the energy of World War II in the background. But she married another man, Arthur Miller, and that lasted for 5 years during her acting career. And that was probably, I kind of got the impression that was probably the best marriage out of the three that she had. But it didn't really work out in the end because he felt like she was unpredictable, dependent, and from the documentary, I got the impression that he may have been the one that influenced her into communism, or that she got into that. I wasn't quite for sure. It was hard. Even the guy who did the documentary didn't know everything because when he interviewed people, not everybody would tell him things because of the stuff she'd been involved in. I had no idea she'd been involved in communism and a female activist. That was a real eye-opener for me. And then she married Joe DiMaggio, and that marriage lasted for 274 days. I cringed. When they showed the parts of the documentary where Marilyn Monroe and Joe DiMaggio were together, I was like, get away from him. That is a bad couple. Like, I just don't feel good about this. And then they quickly were like, and they were married for a very, very short time. Then I found out she was also involved with the Kennedys. And that was a big puzzle piece for me, that she was part of that Kennedy Camelot conspiracy theory stuff. Because I had no idea before this. And just how heavily she was involved in the communism, and at the end of her life, the FBI was investigating stuff with her. And so here she had this great talent, but she was so lost within herself because throughout the documentary, they mentioned that she considered herself a waif. This was mentioned multiple times, and that she had mental health issues. She was seeing a psychiatrist, and the sleeping pills she was using. And the big question, right after she had a success, especially as a female at that time, of buying a piece of property, shortly after that, whether it was suicide, drug overdose, or a murder cover-up because of the political stuff, take your pick. But obviously it didn't really end well for her. And here she had this great talent, but it was short and fleeting because she never really knew who she was or took the time to listen to her inner voice and get some healthy boundaries. Shania Twain was the other documentary I watched, and she too had abuse in her childhood. It was more domestic violence, and the family, it was her stepfather, but the family stayed together for a while, so there was more stability in that way. But the mom and dad did die at a young age in a car wreck when Shania was in her like mid to late teens. But before her mom passed, she was very supportive of getting Shania out and getting her lessons for singing and getting her out to the bars after they stopped serving liquor. I thought that was funny. Their mom was so proactive about that, but took care of her while she was out singing at night as a young person to get her talents out there. But thankfully, when Shania had a female mentor come along early to help her both professionally and personally once her parents passed. And this lady went all the way to Egypt with her for a music take through all the different gigs that Shania Twain had and the beginning of her career. But once this lady went to Egypt with her, she's like, I'm done. This is as far as I can take you. You need to find someone that can take you further and in your career. And about this time, this is when one of Shania's biggest goals was to break through the country western music industry. And at that time, around like early 80s, late 70s-ish, kind of mid 80s, country western, the only women that sang in that genre of music were Christian Puritan type singing songs, which is fine. But here comes Shania Twain, and she's like, make room. I've got my own style, and you're going to let me in. And she ended up marrying the man that helped her get that breakthrough, which was Mutt. And they were married for about 14 years. And it sounds like about overall, they had a pretty good marriage. At least that's how the documentary portrayed it, until the end when he left her for another woman, when her voice changed because of some medical issues that she had. But even though she had a pity party for a short bit, she got remarried within a year and a half to 2 years and moved on. And of course, after the divorce, she started singing about female empowerment songs. But she never came across as an angry female activist, just more loving and very, very transparent about who she was and the things that she went through. So overall, Shania Twain just has more of a confidence and a self-direction. She seemed to have a lot healthier boundaries and the ability to get back up and say, this is what I want, and I'm continuing to go towards my goals. Back to you, Toastmaster.